Is above the law.
President William Ruto speaks tough on non-peaceful protests, says no one is above the law. Catholic bishops slam the government over extensive police brutality, accusing it of enabling extrajudicial killings. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Laura Omondi. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. To our top story tonight, the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, says police will lawfully and firmly prevent any breach of peace by a group of people acting in contrary to provisions of the law in Wednesday's protest to mark the June 2024 killings. Issuing a preparedness address in Nairobi, Kanja, flanked by top leaders within the security forces, urged protesters to refrain from provocative acts directed towards police officers in the execution of their duties. The top police commanders have held a series of meetings since last week to finalize strategies for managing Wednesday's protests, detailing how police intend to maintain law and order. Officers from the General Service Unit, GSU, Rapid Deployment Unit, RDU, and regular police units will be deployed across the city.
The Constitution, under Article 37, guarantees every person the right peaceably and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. Also, the Public Order Act, Cap 56, Section 5, Paragraph 1, 2, and 3 requires that such assembled persons should cooperate and coordinate with the police. For avoidance of doubt, Article 37 of the Constitution and also the Penal Code, Cap 63, Section 78 and 82, clearly provides the conditions necessary for lawful assembly. Public is also urged to refrain from provocative acts directed to police officers in the execution of their duties. The National Police Service remains steadfast in its commitment to protecting lives and property across the country. We assure the public that we will continue pursuing and dismantling criminal networks to ensure the safety and security of all Kenyans, residents and visitors.
Ahead of the mega protests planned across the country on Wednesday, June 25th, President William Ruto has reiterated his administration will stand by the police, saying the security of the nation is non-negotiable. The head of state has sent out a huge warning to persons he says are undermining, demeaning, and intimidating police officers. The government says it will offer support to the police to help them fulfill their duties and responsibilities.
So to IG and your team, you have my support 100% to secure this nation and to operate for all of us, every citizen. Nobody is above the law. None of us is above the law. You cannot intimidate the police. You cannot use force against the police, or insult, or threaten the police. You are threatening our nation. I must say this as president, that without peace, without security, without stability, we don't have a nation. The people who put their lives on the line to make sure that our families are safe, that our properties and nation is safe and stable, are our security agencies. As they put their lives on the line, we as a nation will support them. This administration will stand by them so that they can discharge their responsibilities within the law and make sure that our nation is safe. For the people who want to undermine, demean, try to intimidate, our security agencies. I am telling them you're doing the wrong thing.
The Ministry of Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has announced that the government is ready to meet the families of the victims of the 2024 anti-government protests ahead of its anniversary on June 25th, 2025. Murkomen stated that the government wants to engage in a conversation with families to understand how to support them. Furthermore, he has called out leaders who intend to participate in the protests on Wednesday for changing their stance on political unrest in the country.
Kenya is the country that has the most difficult political environment to operate as a police officer. Political and constitutional. On one hand, the police are extremely constricted on what they can do and not do when it comes to managing public and making sure there is law and order. On the other hand, you have a population and particularly political leadership that is very belligerent in terms of supporting the work of the National Police Service and the police officers. So in this very difficult environment, the police are caught between a rock and a hard place. And in the circumstances, the police officers have made a decision whether they will side with their country or they will allow irresponsible political actors to spoil the country. Your Excellency, these police officers, having for the short period of time I've served in this ministry, and having visited them in the northern part of the country, the Kerio Valley region, where maintaining law and order, and different parts of this country, you realize that despite the difficult challenges, economic situation, facilities that they are the most patriotic lot in providing law and order in our country. And Mr. President, if you hear the people who are speaking now about we want to come to the streets, we want to do mandamano and so forth, Your Excellency, you wonder what is the exact reason. You look at the reasons that have been provided. There have been situations where, unfortunately, in the course of this providing law and order, one or two unfortunate incidents have happened, and the law has been able to take its course. But you will find that despite that process, you will find people who are looking for every reason to come to street and to cause mayhem and to stop people's businesses. And then the police officers are sitting every day simulating how they will be able to stop these people.
Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has endorsed peaceful protests by Kenyans scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday, June 25th, terming them a constitutional right. Odinga, who spoke on Tuesday afternoon during a groundbreaking ceremony in Mombasa County, noted that Article 37 of the Constitution granted every Kenyan the right to assemble and picket without police interference. In his speech, the former Prime Minister urged the police and the protesters to agree on the designated points of demonstrations and the duration of the protests.
Yani kila Mkenya ana haki ya bila kukuwa na silaha yoyote, kutoka na kukutana na vile vile kufanya maandamano na vile vile kugoma na vile vile kupeleka kumbukumbu kwa serikali. Hiyo ni haki ambayo iko ndani ya katiba yetu. Kwa hivyo kama watu wanataka kufanya maandamano, sheria inasema kwanza unampatia serikali notisi. Ati sisi tunataka kufanya maandamano siku fulani, tutafanya maandamano kutoka hapa mpaka hapa, mnakubaliana? Alafu polisi kazi yao ni kwenda kulinda nchi, kulinda wale ambao wanaandamana na kuhakikisha kwamba wasiharibu mali ya watu wengine. Tunakubaliana ya kwamba itafanyika kutoka saa hii mpaka saa hii, kutoka hapa mpaka hapa. Hivyo ndio inafanyika katika nchi zote. Mliona juzi wakati vita ilitoka kule Iran, mmeona maandamano ilikuwa huko London, kule Paris, kule The Hague, kule Pakistan, kule India, hata Amerika wanafanya maandamano.
In a country where hii nchi ingelikuwa imeungua, kukaa kuna wajeshi hapa ambao kwamba wenye kuzorora katika mji wetu huu, tungelikuwa na sauti gani hii? But I want to state one thing and make it clear. This is a party, and we will not sway away from that believes in the spirit of the constitution of this country. Kwa hivyo tunawaambia wale ambao kwamba ni mapolisi, anayetaka kuandamana aandamane, lakini aweze kuhakikisha amelindwa. Na yule ambaye kwamba anayeandamana, ukumbuke ya kwa kuna haki ya mwenzako, yule anayeandamana na wewe, na yule ambaye kwamba hana uwezo wa kuandamana, lakini ni lazima aweze kuheshimu maoni yako. A belief in coexistence that is regardless of who you are.
The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops has delivered a scathing indictment of President William Ruto's government, accusing it of enabling extrajudicial killings, silencing dissent, and mismanaging public resources while ignoring the suffering of ordinary Kenyans. In a joint statement on Tuesday, bishops of the Catholic churches, 30 dioceses across the country, expressed alarm over what they described as a disturbing collapse of justice, accountability, and human dignity under the current administration. They criticized the government's harsh crackdown on youth-led protests, particularly by Gen Z demonstrators who took to the streets last year over high taxes and lack of opportunities. Instead of listening, the bishop said the state agencies responded with brutality, abductions, and killings.
Young people, we appeal to you to avoid any violent encounters during your protests and instead demonstrate your maturity. We call on the security agents to ensure we do not have a repeat of the protected goons who brought violence in the recent protests. How can goons work together with the police? We demand justice for all those murdered and those shot.
The cold-blooded shooting of Boniface Kariuki by a police officer at point-blank range is most shocking. Security officers are sworn to protect, not to harm. When those charged with upholding law and order become the source of fear and injustice, it signals a moral crisis.
And especially young people must be allowed to express themselves without fear. Speaking truth to power is a service to the nation, not an act of rebellion. We must not threaten dissenters with death. We must change our political discourse from insulting, dismissive, arrogant statements to constructive and respectful exchanges regardless of our political position or persuasion. We must stop threatening one another or playing games with death threats.
We reaffirm the sanctity of every human life, the urgency of justice, and the value of peace. That next Sunday, in all our churches, we offer prayers for the young people who died and for all the others who have lost their lives. May God bless Kenya.
All 6 suspects in the murder case of Albert Ojwang have pleaded not guilty before the Kibra Law Courts, Lady Justice Diana Rachel Kavedza. The suspects include Central Police Station OCS Samson Kiprotich Talam, Police Constable James Muhwana, Peter Kimani, John Ngige Gitao, Jean Amito Abuao, and Brian Mwaniki Njue. The lawyers representing the accused persons have requested the court to grant their clients bail, arguing that they are not a flight risk. The request was vehemently rejected by the prosecution, which argues that the suspects are likely to tamper with evidence and interfere with witnesses. On Monday, the plea hearing was postponed after officers Gitao and Kimani lacked legal representation. As of Monday, June 23rd, more than 20 police officers had recorded statements over the brutal murder of Albert Ojwang while in police custody.
It's an obligation over you. this court finds that whenever a compelling reason is established, the court should not just deny bail, but must deny bail. That where we have established a compelling reason, the court's hands are tied and it must deny bail.
The accused persons are facing a possible death penalty. And this is a critical consideration that this court should address. Secondly, in regard to the fourth accused person, the fourth accused person is a deserter from the National Police Service.
The fourth accused.
The fourth accused. We've attached a police signal that declared him a deserter, a signal from the GSU commandant. This is, of course, a person who clearly is not willing to submit to lawful authorities.
Also, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, says it has forwarded the name of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, or DPP, after he failed to honor summons over his post-election violence remarks he had allegedly made. Speaking in Nairobi on Tuesday afternoon, NCIC chairperson Dr. Samuel Kobia said Gachagua is among 26 other top-ranking leaders who are under investigation, including Tiati Member of Parliament William Kamket and Langata Member of Parliament Felix Oduor, Elias Jalango. Kobia also called upon all Kenyans and the political class to exercise restraint and tolerance during Wednesday's protests.
Currently, we are investigating 26 cases involving potential breaches of the National Cohesion and Integration Act, with 2 cases already escalated to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution for further legal action. Once, as a commission, we have done our investigation, and therefore the case of the Deputy President, the former Deputy President, is before DPP as we speak. We have, as we have said, 15 other cases that we are following, and one of them is Honorable Mporo Aburi, who has already appeared to the commission.
Today, it has been just a great day for me, whereby we have agreed with the NCIC on how we are going also, me as Peter Salasia, also going to be part and parcel in preaching peace and uniting this country. As I move around, how am I going to speak to the young people of this nation to see, because you remember, even the death of Albert has united the entire country called Kenya. It was never like, for example, this from this and this from this. And that is the country that I really want to have. And even I personally, as Peter Salasia, I'll always ask anyone who maybe I've talked bad and ask for forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness if I wronged anyone by speaking anything that, or maybe by mouth, by voice, by writing, or wherever.
Over 7,000 secondary school heads have converged at Sheikh Zayed Hall in Mombasa for their annual national conference, which kicked off Tuesday to deliberate on pertinent issues touching on the competency-based education as they prepare to admit the first batch of grade 10 in senior secondary schools next year. The Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association Chairman Willie Kuria said this year's conference is anchored on embracing pathways in senior secondary schools, bringing together policymakers and other education stakeholders. Kuria, in a media briefing in company with the association's top officials, said they will mostly focus on senior school pathways to explore the implementation of the school curriculum and pathways.
This year's conference is operating under the banner of embracing pathways in senior school, because we are very much aware that the CBE is entering senior schools next year. And therefore, we shall largely be discussing the implementation of CBE in senior school. And of course, we also be discussing other issues like the financing and sustainable financing of education. And we shall also be, among other things, we shall be discussing the health system in schools. We have a number of senior officials coming to address the conference. As I have said, the Deputy President will be here, the Cabinet Secretary for the Treasury and the Economic Planning. We shall also be having the Cabinet Secretary for Education, and we shall also be having the Cabinet Secretary for Health, among other dignitaries who will be attending this year's annual conference. I have said the main objectives is, one is the implementation of CBE and the pathways in senior school. There will also be the objective of, as I said, sustainable financing of education in Kenya. We shall also be looking at the role of the associations, the leaders, and teachers' union in delivery of quality education.
Okay, at that point, allow us to take a quick breather right here on EBN Prime Edition. We'll be back shortly with more news making headlines on the other side. Stay with us. A family in the Kipipiri area at Turasha police station. According to a police report obtained by EBN TV, the deceased 44-year-old Ruigi Ndubi was arrested for allegedly obstructing police officers performing their duties. The report notes that Ndubi appeared intoxicated at the time of his arrest. According to the report, during a routine check at about 12:46 p.m., an officer discovered the suspect dead inside the cell. It claims that he hanged himself with his shirt, which was tied to the padlock on the inner cell door. However, the deceased family has questioned the official account, citing suspicious circumstances surrounding his death.
Asubuhi leo ninasema nimekasirika. Nataka haki ya Dobe na tunataka familia yao ipate haki ya mtoto yao. Na huyo askari achukuliwa hatua kabisa daktari, kwa sababu hiyo ni kitendo mbaya sana. Amezoea watu, hata juzi alikuwa amekibisha kijana ingine, wiki tu ni siku mbili imeisha kabla aue. Alikuwa anataka kupiga bunduki, lakini sasa amenyoka kunyoka.
Mtu yule ambaye alikufa ndiye mrefu zaidi hapa Turasha. Na mahali amekufia akisema ni kujinyonga. Tunataka kujua yule afisa ambaye alimkamata achukuliwe hatua, kwa sababu huyo mtu ndiye mrefu hapa na hata mahali wanasemekana amejinyonga. Hakuna mtu anaweza kufa hapa akijinyonga. Na kwa hivyo sisi tunasema namna hii, tukimalizana na siku hii ya leo, maafisa wote hapa station.
Mimi nakaanga hapa town kila siku, kila usiku niko kwa town. Mimi najuaga maneno mingi kuhusu hawa vijana, lakini hawa wafanyikazi wa hapa wanakujaga kukaa kwa baa, hawaendangi kwa vijiji, wanakujaga kwa baa kuangalia venye tunakunywaga. Mimi nakunywaga mafuta mwenye ako na kitu.
Nachunguzwa, walikuja jana na tukaweza kuona mahali mwenda zake Ruigi alikuwa amesemekana amejinyongea, na tukakaa mpaka experts wanaitwa scenes of crime wakakuja. Na watu ya CID wakakuja pia, wakaona vile kuko na uchunguzi ukaanza tayari kutoka hapo. Uchunguzi ukifanywa, CID wafanye na ipoa.
Cabinet met on Tuesday under the chairmanship of President William Ruto at State House in Nairobi and approved the government-owned enterprises bill of 2025, marking a significant step in reforming the governance and performance of commercial state corporations in Kenya. The bill establishes a new category of commercial state corporations, now termed government-owned enterprises. It aimed to address long-standing inefficiencies such as the appointment of unqualified individuals to leadership roles by introducing a structured merit-based selection process overseen by an independent panel. The board will elect its chairperson from among the independent members. The bill explicitly prohibits conflicts of interest for both the chairperson and independent directors, promoting professionalism, transparency, and commercial viability. All right, that piece from Cabinet wraps our bulletin tonight. Thank you for watching. I hope that you are duly informed on what is making headlines across the country. Ahead of Wednesday's protest, that is tomorrow, we pray for peace in the country. I pray for safety as well for each and every person that will be out protesting, because it is a right guaranteed under the Constitution, and we can only hope that law enforcement as well will play their part and ensure that they provide security to those who will be on the street. So much to keep tabs on. Tomorrow we'll be here to update you on that. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Laura Omondi. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Good night. God bless. Take care.